All right. So with that in mind, today's agenda is all the updates that impact large property managers. The first one is going to be report builder, and then we'll spend a fair amount of time on it. The next updates is what Monique is going to cover. These are around new customization capabilities within seasonal strategies, and a few UI changes and integrations that have come up. Monique, did I miss anything so far?
I don't think so.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. So, first up, a lot of you might have already seen the announcements for Report Builder. I'm hoping some of you have gotten to play around with it a little bit. What I wanted to do in this webinar is cover why did we create Report Builder, and what problems can it solve for our customers, for you guys, right? Uh, so one of the things that we had noticed for larger or with larger property managers is one is every business works a little differently. How their reporting works, what do you report to different stakeholders within your company might be different. And so the same reports in portfolio analytics that we used to have, which are pretty powerful for a lot of things that you want to do, would not suffice for everybody. So we would keep getting requests about, hey, can we add this line to this chart or that line to this chart? And over time, as we keep adding more and more charts or more possibilities in a chart, they start becoming a little too complex for everyday usage. So we thought, okay, what if we can provide a tool where we provide the starting templates to our customers, but then as and when they feel the need to add something, they can do it on their personal account, and that way these become very tailored, bespoke reports that you want, that maybe somebody else doesn't want, in which case they are doing something else. And what we were seeing is a lot of our customers were downloading data from Price Labs from different places within Price Labs. So you can today download a CSV of all the forward-looking prices in Price Labs. You can download a CSV of all your reservation data, all your occupancy and ADR data. And then a lot of times customers are like wrangling with that data in Excel, trying to make sense out of it. And we said, okay, what if we do something where a lot of this is handled by us and templatized in some ways? So when you do it now versus when you do it in a month, it doesn't take more than 5 minutes. That's essentially what the goal here is. So we are saying whether it be reservations data, whether it be calendar data, whether it be market data. Reservation and calendar data is your own data in some ways, and then market data is what we provide from the market. All of it, can it be built into the same platform so that you can easily say, for this month, I want to see these three columns together, whatever the three columns you want to see, essentially. So a lot of custom reporting capabilities, but we also understand it's hard to have a blank canvas and start painting. So we have provided some templates to get you started. A lot easier to share. Like once you create these templates, and if you have multiple users who log into the account, those users can also see the same templates. You can easily download an Excel and send it to whoever you want to send it to. And then once you create a report, and then a month later you say, I want the same report, but with updated data, you don't have to recreate it because your template is saved. All you do is view this report now, and it's already updated with all the new data. Any questions so far? So with all of this, I know I've said a lot. Really, what will help is if we go in and see what this looks like. So if you log into your account and go to the portfolio analytics section and click on report builder, that's where this new product sits. You will also see quick access to some of the popular templates that we have provided. I'm going to click on this report builder right now and just walk you through everything that you see on the screen. Cool. All right. So On the left, you'll see three folders. One of them says all templates, one of them says my templates, and one of them says price labs templates. So price labs templates are what we have provided right now. My templates is empty because I have not, in this account, we have not yet saved any new templates. And as and when you build them, they'll start showing up here, but then all of them will always be in here. To create a template, you would go here. But before we go into the create mode, I really want to quickly show what these templates look like: the revenue on the books, leaderboards, segment occupancy pacing, and opportunities, because they all solve very specific problems that our customers have brought up in the past to say, hey, is there a way to do this, or is there a way to do that? The first one I want to go into is what we call the opportunities report. The opportunities report essentially is and this is a test account, so the data is sort of made up in some way. So the names of the listings are not real here, but each of these rows is a listing if in this table. And then I've selected a date range of next 3 months and said, okay, I want to focus on, for the dates that are unbooked, how much revenue potential is still out there. And I've sorted this table by that. And what you'll see is that there is one listing with $78,000 on the line in the next 3 months. And then there are listings with much lesser, right? So as a revenue manager, sometimes this report can be helpful to say, okay, if I have 5 minutes and I want to see which home can I look into and diagnose if something is wrong, that will yield sort of the most opportunity for me, most potential for me. That's the goal here, to say, okay, maybe I should go look into this home or the first 3 homes because a lot of revenue is outstanding. It maybe small tweaks here and there can really help. There are other opportunities also being highlighted here. So for example, there is something called unbookable dates potential revenue. We call a date unbookable when the stay restrictions on a certain date prevent it from getting booked. So for example, you might have a listing that has a minimum stay of 5 nights, and then there is a 3-night gap in there, and maybe the orphan gap filling rule is not enabled for that listing. In this case, those 3 nights still have a 5-night minimum. There is no way this listing can get booked. And so with this report, you can see, okay, which are the listings where I have a lot of potential revenue just locked into stay restrictions. And in some cases, you might say, I can't really do anything. The owner has asked for a 5-night minimum. There is nothing I can change. But in some cases, you might say, hey, look, this was sort of a loose restriction we put in. Maybe we forgot to do the orphan setting. Maybe if the number is too big, we can go back to the owner and say, hey, look, here's how much revenue is logged in on these kinds of dates where stay restrictions are stopping something. And I talked about minimum stay, but the same thing can happen with check-in and check-out restrictions. For example, if you have during summer months, some people do Saturday to Saturday check-in, check-out restrictions. And if an owner comes and decides they want to stay in the home from Thursday to Tuesday, now the 3 days before and the 4 or 5 days after cannot be booked because checkouts are only allowed on Saturdays and check-ins are only allowed on Saturdays, right? Now we have some settings to mitigate those kinds of things as well. But if you haven't enabled those, you might go and say, this report will help highlight that, hey, something is off. Like there are dates that cannot be booked and revenue that needs to be unlocked. So maybe you create a manual setting or you turn on the automation so that it automatically takes care of that. And then the third kind of potential revenue is just coming from blocked dates. Like if owners have blocked a lot of dates and maybe those dates happen to be in high season, maybe the dates happen to be on peak event dates. Maybe the owner doesn't know that these are peak dates, but a lot of the revenue is locked in there. Maybe it's worth a conversation to say, hey, do you really want to be booking this, blocking these dates right now? All of this is very customizable. Right now, it's sorted by what's the revenue potential for unbooked dates. But I can also say, okay, I actually want to audit all my stay restrictions right now. So like I might go in these 3 calendars and see, okay, what dates are being marked as unbookable, and what can I do to change that? I can easily go and change what time range this is for. If you look at all of this, and we have also added some other columns here, but you might also say, hey, look, all of this is fine. I wish there was some other metric out there. You can do that. You go click on duplicate and edit here, give it a new name, because this is a price labs template. Right now, we are going to just say personalized. And this creates a new template that now you're free to edit as you want, which means you can go create. So there's a small preview here, but you can then say, okay, I want to find out, you know, add some other, like what's the minimum stay setting for all of these listings, or average minimum stay. I don't know what metric might help in this case, but you can add whatever metric. There's 100 plus metrics out here that you can see. You can also go ahead and do condition formatting so that it's easier to spot things. And as you make changes, we'll keep showing you a preview so that you're not doing this in the blind. As you make changes, you can see that, okay, this column got added, and whatever else is happening here. I've said a lot. Any questions so far? Cool. If not, I will quickly jump into some of the other things you can do here. We already talked about the date ranges. You can also, right now it's running for all the syncing listings in this account. I can go in and say, I want to change it to only look at a certain segment, or only properties that have taken a booking in the last X months, or things like that. I can also reorder columns. So like it's pretty easy to do a lot of these things. And all of this works just like Excel. So if I come here, you'll see that I can like assort however I want. I can filter out certain values. And once I do all of that, I can also then download all of this, etc. These, there are 4 templates here. The second one I really want to dive into because it solves, at least from what I have heard from a lot of our customers, the major problem is when as a revenue manager, you come in on Monday morning, let's say, and you want to see, hey, I manage homes in maybe multiple cities, or maybe in the same city, but in different neighborhoods, or different sized homes. And when you're managing 50, 100, 500, 2,000 properties, you really want to first find out what segment is performing well, what groups are performing well, what cities are performing well, for example. And then go ahead and say, okay, if there is a segment that's not performing really well and needs my attention, maybe that's the first thing you go and focus on. And when I say performing well, a lot of times pacing reports is what we look at. We say, okay, for example, in the pacing reports, I would go in and say, show me pacing for, let's say, all my properties in Montreal that are, let's say, 2 bedroom. And I would go look at the pacing here. The pacing chart would give me a lot of insights into, like, across different months, what's happening, year over year, how am I performing compared to the market, how am I performing. One of the asks we used to get a lot is, I have 10 segments and it takes time to go through each segment one by one by one. Can this process be sped up? And so that's the reason we included the segment occupancy pacing report here. What you're seeing is that the segments, and in our template, we have defined segments as city and bedroom. If you have groups created, you can select groups. You can, again, go duplicate this one and create, change the aggregation to a group level instead of city and bedroom. But it's saying, okay, like for all of my segments currently defined here, for the next 3 months, I want to see year over year, how am I doing? And in this case, it says, okay, like looks like we are doing worse for September in a lot of cases. But really, 8-bedroom homes in Philadelphia are really trailing behind, right? So like I should go and see what's happening there. Now these are also sorted right now by how large that segment is. So I have to weigh my options here in some ways to say, okay, 8 bedrooms are trailing behind, but only 3 homes. Is there a larger segment that I also should pay attention to here? So like a lot of information for you to make a very informed decision in some ways. In addition to year-over-year pacing, you're also saying what's the market penetration index. So anything above 100, it means you're ahead of the market. Anything below 100, it means you're below the market. And once again, these are test listings. Generally, that might be why there are a lot of, you're seeing a lot of red here. And then finally, it also says, it's great to see year over year, but I also want to know what's the absolute looking like. And I can see that, okay, these properties are generally doing okay, but that 8-bedroom segment is really trailing, not just trailing behind in absolute terms, it's quite far down. So I do want to go look at what's happening there. The ultimate goal of any of this is to get you to identify what needs action faster. That's the goal of any reporting in some ways, but now it's saying, okay, you get to decide what's important for you. So, and then we'll bring all the data and make it easier to find that segment. I think there is a question. Oh, there are a few questions.
Yeah, I can read them out loud if you want. First, Patrick has a question. I was told that you're going to release a new metric of revenue for unsold nights. When is it going to be, please?
So Patrick, that's what we were looking at when we were looking at this opportunity report. So if I go in and see the full report, the column was here. It says available, and actually let me wait for this to load. The very first column in opportunities is that available and bookable dates, potential revenue. So unsold is the same as available for us, and then we have differentiated between bookable and unbookable. In the past. Got it. I'll check with our product manager. I'm assuming you've already had a conversation with somebody on our team on this one. I'll have to check that, Patrick. Unsold nights is not something on our, at least I'm not aware of that one yet. I'll have to check. One question I did have is, when you think of unsold nights, are you thinking the last price that was on the listing before it became sort of yesterday in some ways? Cool. Okay. Sounds good. Cool. So next question is, all right, so I think Melinda has a question. Is the data in these reports exclusively pulling from our portfolio, or is there a way to compare versus the market? So it's a mix of both, Melinda. If you go to edit report, you will see that in occupancy metrics, for example, there is anything that says market in front of it is going to pull from the market. And anything that doesn't say market is generally going to be your own data. So it's a mix of both. We are trying to bring everything together. So for example, we talked about this in the segment pacing piece, where we're saying, here's your own year over year, but then also here's how you're doing compared to the market in some ways. All right. Michael, is there any risk that through the API integration, these reports won't be pulling in 100% of your reservations from the PMS? I want to make sure that I'm looking at a full view of our data. So, Michael, in general, we pull data from the last 5 years when you onboard. And then every day we pull in new reservations from the PMS. Usually this process is fairly reliable, but there are times when we find that, okay, there is some reservation that is missing. But if you can reach out to our team, even now to say, hey, I use this particular PMS, can you make sure that all my data is in there? We'll be able to give you some sense of what to expect. And if you see any discrepancy, like our PMSs change how they integrate or their APIs quite often. So like our team is always keeping up with everything that they are changing. But anytime you see a discrepancy, do reach out to us, because then we can, if we are not already working on it, we can prioritize that.
I would also add that you have to keep in mind that it's based on whatever data is in your PMS. And if you've done a PMS transition, you'll want to keep that in mind, especially if the transition was prior to joining Price Labs. If you're, a user that joined like maybe less than 2 years ago, I've seen most PMSs are only bringing in a year, maybe 2 years of data.
Yes, and anytime you do a PMS transition in the future, generally that one recommendation we have is make sure that from your older PMS, the new PMS brings in at least 2 years in the past with the right booking dates and things like that as much as possible. We do have tools on our end where if you have the reservations in your database somewhere or some file, and the new PMS hasn't imported those in, we still have the capability to say, hey, the PMS doesn't have it, the API feed isn't giving it to us, but we can upload these historical reservations for you so that these reports then make sense. So if you've gone through something like that, do reach out and we can get that fixed for you. Right, I think another question from Michael. Are there plans to allow us to pick and choose data elements that could be combined into a mashup report that you could easily send out to property owners and clients at a set frequency? So yes, in some ways, I want to say, like, if you go to the leaderboard report, there is a bunch of data here that I have already pulled in. Like, sorry, this is our template. I haven't pulled this in, but we have already pulled this in. But again, you can duplicate this template and say, if I want to share it with somebody, they don't care about market penetration index, but they do care about this other metric. You can add those metrics and save a template. Now, this report as is, maybe you probably won't send it to an owner because this report has data for all the listings in your account. One thing that we are in our roadmap looking for is potentially solving that need to say, okay, can we create something where there is a similar report for and where we almost provide a text summary of like what are you looking at, so that you can then edit that summary and send it over to the owner, to each owner. Maybe there is a button here that says, hey, this looks good, send a summary to the owner or something like that. What you can do though right now, if uh, if there are a certain set of owners you already want to start doing this for with some cadence, is you can say, okay, here's my entire, I don't want to do this for everybody, but I can go here and say only pick listings. So you can select one listing at a time and then say apply filter. So instead of everything, you'll have one listing up here, and then you can say download this and for now manually send it over. But in future, we'll look for ways to solve this so that you can send it from here. Michael, does that? Oh, I see you said. I think now Atul's question is there any report where I can download all the rates which I have set? Basically, I want an Excel sheet which I can download on a daily basis for all my listings, which I can maintain for my past rates. That, Atul, that can be done right now. So if you go to the customizations page, in here, you will see that let's say I'm using Avantio as my PMS. If I click on this and I say download CSV of prices, it will give you for each listing for each date, what's the price, what's the minimum stay, and a few other feeds in there. So a lot of our customers already do this. And this is the data actually that is also feeding in the report builder already. So like you'll see the columns from there also being used in being available in here. If if you are if you're more of a developer or you have access to a developer, instead of manually come, and by developer, I mean software developer, instead of manually coming in and downloading the prices, our API also allows you to automatically pull this information in. So we have some large customers who have their own data warehouse where they ping the API, store the rates into their database every week or snapshots like that. Atul, does that answer your question? Perfect. Okay. Cool. I think
There's one more question in
yeah.
the Q&A box.
Okay.
I can read it just for anyone who won't be able to see it. I'm seeing a discrepancy with the recognized revenue for a calendar month on an extended stay that has been hosted for well over a year. PriceLab shows no revenue. Would this have to do with the setup on Streamline that doesn't bucket the monthly revenue correctly on PriceLabs?
Um, if you can send us a support ticket about this, this is something our integrations team can look at and figure out what's happening. It's possible that because it's a extended stay, it's coded a little differently. I think in Streamline, there are statuses that we consider as bookings or not bookings. And we can look at it and figure out what's potentially happening here. But this is something that we should be able to correct. Cool. Any other thoughts and questions? One thing I wanted to bring out is right now, as I was making changes to all of this, adding certain columns, bringing in market data and things like that, I can go ahead and save this as a new template. And that way, it'll start showing up as this line item here. And then anytime next week when I want to look at this report again, all I need to do is click. I don't need to start here and add those columns again and things like that. If you want to completely start from a blank slate, that is possible. If you just go here, say, okay, what do you want your aggregation levels to be? We have listing, group, subgroup, cities, bedroom count, uh, anything that you want here. So like in this case, let's say you go with cities, and then what do you want as the secondary aggregation level? Maybe you want months, or maybe you say, okay, I don't want months in this column view, but in row view, but more as a column view, in which case I can go say, okay, show me the months on this axis. And because October is the only month, it's not showing anything right now. And then I can say, okay, show me either the total revenue or the rental revenue, the difference being subtle that total revenue includes all fees and taxes, and rental revenue only includes the sort of the calendar rate, base rate that somebody paid. Cool. What we are planning to do next on Report Builder is essentially go and allow you to specify for certain canned reports if you want an email every week, every month, some cadence to include to be included have the file included in an email so that you don't even have to come to Price Labs. Monday morning, it gets delivered to your inbox so that you can see it wherever you are much more easily. And then it also becomes sort of a reminder to say, hey, I want to check this on Monday morning, kind of a thing. And I'm saying Monday morning, all of this file, it can be any time, any day of week. Kind of. Great.
I think one thing that I want to add to the report builder is that for most of my customers, I've seen them start by customizing the canned templates, adding, you know, things like pickup, um, different KPIs for whatever specific, like listing level or group level that they're looking at. So I think it's kind of prevented people from being so overwhelmed from the get-go with being able to build like a customized report.
Yeah, I mean, starting from a blank canvas is always hard, but the easiest way we have seen people do it is start with a template, keep tinkering it till you get what you want, and then save that as a template. Thanks, Monique.
You're welcome. All right. I'm going to take it from here and I'm going to talk a little bit about seasonal settings. I'm sure a lot of you have used seasonal profiles if you're already in a seasonal market. So our new seasonal settings are kind of just building upon what's available to you within those seasonal profiles. So the first thing that we've added by popular demand is check-in and check-out profiles. So now instead of having to control check-in and check-out for specific seasons by using a date-specific override at either the account, listing, or group level, you can actually assign a check-in or check-out profile to a specific season. Most common use case that I see is in high season summer for a lot of, I'm primarily on the East Coast and Eastern Canada, so my high season for a lot of my customers is summer. And then a lot in like ski season in the Northeast. I typically see people using this to force check-in, check-out on either Friday or Saturday for week-long stays during those peak seasons. So that's the first improvement. And then 2A and 2B would be the two new features that have been added to the pricing profiles, which are also under the custom seasonal profiles. So we've added the ability to customize far out prices by season, as well as adjusting seasonality by season. So Anurag, if you want to jump over to my demo account, I have two, I've already built them out. So
Right, cool.
yeah, so if we go to, I don't know, we can go into the customizations here.
Okay.
And then open the seasonal profile. Of course, this is available at the group and account level as well. Yep, let's open up that profile. And then by clicking on the three dots in the upper right-hand corner here, you'll actually see the ability to add in the pricing profile and the check-in, check-out profile. So when you add those, you'll actually see if you click on the drop down, I've already built out pricing profiles. So I've got my off-peak pricing profile, and then I have my check-in, check-out profile. Now all I would have to do is click finish profile. Now, if in order to save my changes, if you don't already have a profile built out, you can either do so right from there within the drop down, or you can go to the customizations tab to control the customizations for your group and account level settings. You'll also see the ability to create a profile there. Anurag, if you want to show that, because I think it's kind of hidden for people who might not be used to looking at that. It lives in the same spot as your minimum stay profiles. So instead of looking at customizations, we're going to click profiles, and now you won't just see minimum stay profiles, you'll see pricing profiles and check-in, check-out profiles. So this is the other place where you can come to build them, or where you would come to edit the profiles that you've already built out.
I want to quickly touch upon, Monique, why this can be useful. I think for check-in, check-out profiles you already mentioned, right? Like earlier, we have a lot of customers who are in markets where Saturday to Saturday is pretty common. Or even if it's not common, you might have different check-in, check-out strategies for different seasons. But where it is common, usually we see that in high season, people enforce Saturday to Saturday, but in low season, it's sort of, hey, book whatever you want. We'll take any booking that comes in, kind of a thing, right? Low season is solo. And earlier it was a little bit of a hassle to do this using date-specific overrides because your calendar would then get cluttered with all of these overrides showing. Now this has become a lot easier. Also, these repeat every year, so you're not having to constantly keep up with it. On the pricing profile side, I think Moni has this thing called off-peak pricing, and I think that's actually the right example in some ways. What you can do in high season, where you're expecting things to book out fairly well, you might say, I'm fine with having far out premiums, for example. They are built in our algorithm by default. But in low season, maybe I want to turn these off and just take whatever, depending on how low your low season is. Our algorithm should already be picking up on these things. But you can say, hey, look, in low season, I don't give me a booking. I don't want a far out premium or things like that. So now you can sort of build your own algorithm or tailor your own strategies a little better in some ways.
Yep, I think that covers. Oh, Michael has a question. Along seasonality and pricing, there seems to be a few things that I believe I need to go to Airbnb or my PMS to accomplish versus price labs. An example would be strike through pricing on Airbnb, which triggers when discount levels hit a certain threshold, i.e. 15% off for last minute. I would love to do this through price labs, but seem to only be able to adjust the pricing, which then pushes as an update to the nightly rate and doesn't trigger the merchandising tools within Airbnb. Am I missing something that I should be doing differently? No, that is specific to Airbnb. It's a common pain point that I see with my large customers because they do want that merchandising benefit, because based on how much of that discount is, you get the marketing benefits, being emails, being strike through pricing. Unfortunately, I don't think that that's necessarily something we could control, if I'm correct, right, Anurag? You can get strike through pricing, but it's not gonna, you won't get the email marketing benefits.
I will we'll follow up with an answer to this question, Michael, because what Monique is saying is it's a little nuanced there. Airbnb's merchandising has things for whether rates have dropped or not, and whether there is a length of stay, like weekly, monthly discount applying or not. And depending on which PMS you use, those can be triggered or not be triggered. So if the property management system uses length of stay pricing with Airbnb, for example, then length of stay discounts don't show up. All right, we'll find you the answer for owner res. So if you set a weekly and monthly discount in price labs, depending on how owner res communicates with the PMS, those might not show up. But just plain discounts should show up. For example, if the way Airbnb merchandising works, and I think there is a help article from Airbnb on this that covers it, you can't bump up the rate by 10% and then drop it by 10% to get Airbnb merchandising. But if your rate for the last 30, I think they look at the average rate for the last 30 days and then compare it to what was the rate today. And if the drop in prices in real, what will the guest pay prices is more than, I think it's 5% or 10%, I don't know what the threshold is. It doesn't matter where that price change came from, whether you added a special discount in Airbnb or whether you change the price in Price Labs, those should show up as a strike through. So in a lot of cases, our last minute discounts will show up as a strike through just because over time they have been reducing the prices.
It's a 10% threshold, by the way. They do the strike through pricing when it's at least 10% lower.
Got it. Monica, as you speak through, I'll try to find that article and link it here as well. Got it. Okay.
Cool. All right, I guess moving on. Anurag, you want to cover the overrides?
I
And
can
alerts?
cover the overrides and alerts. Monique or Aditya, if you can share the link in the chat, I think that will help for the previous question. All right. The next set of changes are in some ways very small and minor and subtle changes, but these are things that over time our customers have told us, hey, can we change this little thing, or this small functionality is missing, and those kinds of things. The first one is when you have a date specific override on your calendar, let me go into one of the properties here. So as you add a date specific override, my minimum price here is 167. Sorry, know what's happening. Okay, so for a particular date, let's say from the 28th to the 1st, I say I want my price to be set to 120. When you click add, you get these alerts that say, okay, are you sure you want 120 because your minimum price is 167? Earlier, this is not the only alert that exists. There are a few other kinds of alerts that exist in price labs when you create a date specific overrides, and they are generally aimed to make sure like you don't accidentally enter something that you didn't want to. Earlier, the alerts would show up one after one after one. So like you would say update, and then the next alert would show. And then you'd say, no, I know what I'm doing, go with it. And then the next alert would show. What we have done is essentially, if there is an alert, we are going to list out all the alerts in one screen so that you can review everything and not have to click update, twice or thrice or go through multiple warnings. And if you really know what you're doing, we don't necessarily recommend this for everyone, but a lot of times you have seen people say, okay, dates that are very last minute, I want to go and lower my rates below the minimum price. I actually don't care about it. In those cases, what you can do is you can say, uh, if you know that you're going to go do this many, many times, you can say, I want to pause these warnings for the next 24 hours. I know the software is trying to prevent mistakes, but I know what I'm doing. Again, not something that we recommend to everyone. Like the warnings exist in place for a reason. But if you say, hey, look, I just need to get this done quickly, and I know what I'm doing, uh, you can go ahead and do this as well. The next one here is there are certain customizations where are limits for how high you can go. For example, here, if I do percentage change, you'll see that the limit is minus 75% to 500%. So minus 75% will essentially cut down the price to 1/4 of what it used to be, and 500% will make it 6 times more. These limits were not uniform across different parts of the product. So there were some fields where we would say, for this one, we'll only allow up to 300% and only down till minus 50%. So we have sort of normalized that a little bit to say, okay, there are times when a revenue manager who knows what they're doing might want a wider range, and let's give it to them. And I think I didn't cover the base price history piece, but I'm hoping everyone has been using our new multi-calendar. We've spent a lot of time on speeding this up, cleaning up the UI. A lot of exciting changes are going to come in the next month. But one item that we added recently was inclusion of base price history in here. Our goal with multi-calendar is that for people who have a large number of homes, this should become a sort of a hub where you sit, where any action that you could do on the main calendar, main review prices calendar, you should be able to do that here. So there should be a one-to-one functionality mapping, except that you can do it for many, many listings together in here. So if you're managing a large portfolio, this page helps you see prices for multiple listings at once, create date specific overrides for multiple listings at once. And if you want to dive into certain details, maybe you want to see what the neighborhood data looks like or change some customizations, all of that is available here. So again, the thought is anything that you can do in the main calendar, you should be able to do in here as well. I know there are a lot of columns that you are not seeing right now, but if there is something that you say, hey, look, I use notes and I didn't see notes here, head over to the row column visibility and you'll see, well, now I can't find them. Sorry, I know notes exist somewhere. I'm just missing those right now. Monique?
Is it under the three dots? Did you already click there? Oh, no. Is it the plus sign right there? No.
Sorry.
Uh,
We'll come back to
nope.
where notes exist, but they definitely exist here.
Anurag, it should
It
be.
does. It used to be under the three dot drop down. That's what I thought. Not that one, but the listing level one.
I think Aditya has an
Oh,
answer.
it's the button that's right under the three dot drop down at the listing level on the left hand side. Next to the
Oh my
listing.
God. I'm so sorry. The notes are sitting right here.
Yeah.
Sorry for the mess up, everyone. Hopefully you're getting some entertainment out of this as well. But yes, everything that exists on the main screen should exist here as well. So I highly encourage, if you have not started using multi-calendar, to go in and give it a spin. Cool. Now, Monique, you want to pick this one?
Yep. So just super quickly, I know we're already a few minutes over here, but we do have 3 new integrations for PMSs. We now integrate with Innkeeper's Advantage, Search and Stay, and Easy Cloud. You can find the help articles to integrate and connect your listings for any of those in our knowledge base. And with that, that's the final update, unless you have anything to add on this, Anurag. I think everyone here is probably already using a PMS that they're pretty happy with, but just an FYI. Last little housekeeping item, we do have an upcoming webinar coming up regarding slow season. As we're all well aware, slow season is approaching. My colleague, David, another solutions consultant, as well as Richie, one of our other co-founders, is going to be running a webinar on October 8th at 11 a.m. Eastern on how to set up your account for the slow season. They're going to do a live walkthrough to go over implementing different strategies for the upcoming shoulder and slow seasons. You can use the registration link that we've shared in the chat in order to sign up for that webinar.
All right. With that, I think we've reached the end of this webinar. We still have time for more questions if anyone wants to bring those up. Cool. And then if I think over time we have gone through a few questions where you had specific issues. So feel free to start like support ticket by emailing support@pricelabs.co, or if you go into the product, if you're already logged in, you can also do all of this from here. So you can either start a chat ticket or email our support. For the missing reservation kind of things, for example, because it will require our engineering team to look into it, and an email should be fine because it will take us time to investigate what's happening and come back with the resolution. All right. Michael, thank you for the kind words. Patrick, that's a tough question to answer. It depends on a lot of factors. Everybody needs sort of different functionality from the PMS. Different regions have different trust accounting needs. So like, I don't think there is one single answer to that one, unfortunately. Mm. Thanks everyone for joining. I know this is an hour long, but I'm really hoping that not just on the new updates, but you got to learn a little bit about functionality that you might not have experienced. I got to know where notes exist, for example. Wasn't coming in thinking that's going to happen. But again, thank you so much for joining. And if you have any more questions, feel free to send an email to us.
Thanks, everyone.
Right. Bye.